today's review is going to be about the Jameson Croze. And what's so special about this review? Well, two things. One, I'm doing the review on a Teeling t-shirt. Yeah, pretty sure that Jameson loves this review. Anyways, second part is we're gonna see how beginner friendly this whiskey is. And that's basically what this channel is all about. See you very soon. So yeah, if this is the first time you enter my channel or see any of my reviews, well, I'm gonna make it so simple as possible. I'm an old bartender, like almost with a pain in the back and carrying too many kegs, doing too many cocktails, can't even shake anymore basically. But yeah, I have a lot of experience in the bar industry, and I've done I don't know, many courses for people, and I've taught in whiskey and several things and a lot of blah blah blah. So let's get to it. Enough about me. This review is going to be about the Jameson Croze. Now, if, like I said, it's the first time, this is a bit different than other reviews. It's about, first of all, how beginner friendly it is, which is the first category. The second category we go into is also what kind of cocktail does it fit to. Usually we finish on that one. And the third category is how original is it. Now, the originality, it's a bit more abstract, so there's no defined line what the originality is. I usually look at maybe the design, or maybe look at the story about the distillery and what's going on in that country that makes that whiskey. So, without further ado, let's get to it. So, we have our Croze, which is a Jameson whiskey. If you're new to Jameson, and in particular Irish whiskey, well, Jameson's, if you've been living in another whiskey planet, Jameson's probably the biggest whiskey in Ireland there is, and even worldwide. It's because of Jameson that whiskey basically in Ireland survived. We can discuss if you like it or not, that's a whole new section, but the one thing I would like to focus on here, Jameson is a very, in flavor, approachable whiskey. Now, without going back to story, you have to understand that Ireland was the biggest whiskey industry way back, and at one point they were like very close to actually not having any possibility to produce whiskey at a mass scale anymore. But thanks to actually Teeling and Jameson, I would say Jameson made them survive. Teeling actually took it to a new level. But this is not about Teeling, it's about Jameson. So what's special about this one? Well, first of all, we have what's called a blended Irish whiskey. Now, there are different categories, and if you want to know the categories, we actually have a small guide that you can download for free that actually takes you through the 4 types of Irish whiskey, blended whiskey being one of them. Now, back to this one. We have a blended whiskey here from Jameson. You maybe have seen or probably have seen the green Jameson, like the green bottle. That's the most common one. Then the next level is the black barrel. No, sorry, the crested, Jameson crested. And then you have the black barrel. And I'm talking about price-wise, because flavor we can always discuss. Now, they did a special selection. That is something in between these, like special selections of course, the black barrel, the crested, and the green one. And they made one called the Mega Series. This is one of them. There was 3, and this one, the Croze, that's number 1. You had Blender Stock, and the last one was the Distiller Safe. Now, I'm not sure that if they produce it anymore. I don't think they do. But if you're lucky, you can get a bottle or 2 around. They're still fairly easy to get. They're not so cheap. And of course, that's also part of the entire process here when we do the review. Is it worth the money at the end? So, without further ado, let's taste it. So, first part here. And also, I forgot to mention that this series actually won a lot of awards. In particular, this one, it won awards for being a very, very good whiskey. It has a lot of finesse. It's really balanced. But that's the more like nerdy stuff, and we're going to try to take it down to a more approachable, flavor profile. That's pretty good. Really, really good. Well, we have to compare it with something. So if you haven't tried the regular Jameson, it's a bit difficult to understand, but I'll try to speak to both audiences. So if you compare it to the regular one is more straightforward, very simple taste, a bit more sweet. This one still keeps that, sweet flavor that the regular Jameson has, but this has way more wood in it. It has like this small sherry notes, like that you would get from Oloroso cask from Spain. But that means you get like a bit of fruitiness to it. You also get this really more dense wood than you would get from the regular one. So in that way, it has a more complexity. Now, is the complexity so big that it's complicated? For me, I don't think so. I don't really think that it's so complex that you wouldn't get it if I told you about it. And I think you would be able to appreciate it. So I don't know if you can read it here. If it says, it says flavor of wood. So that you would definitely get that one. And what else? You can see somewhere else maybe. Yeah, it just says that it has a variety of cask. I think, as I recall, it's 3 different cask types. But I can't really seem to find which one it is. Nope, doesn't say here. But definitely I would get that it has some kind of sherry. That's definitely there. Bourbon cask, most probably. But yeah, basically it's very easy to drink and it does give a lot of complexity. So I would have to rate this at an 8. So a solid 8 for the flavor of a new person drinking it. Now, if you're new to whiskey, like I said before, it's very straightforward. It's very easy to drink. So I still keep it in that 8, even though you're completely new or you have tried Jameson before. And now, is it something that you would mix just like with ginger ale or something like that? It's not my initial thought, but of course you could, because it's not that great that you can't mix it. I wouldn't place it there. So flavor-wise, we got something sweet, we got something woody, and we got something fruity. Very simple stuff, and of course unpeated, which is again very common for Ireland. Now, how original is it? Well, let's look at Jameson. Jameson usually don't have so much. They don't go so wild. They don't experiment so much, and I think it's a lovely extra take on the Jameson. I think it's great to see them trying something fairly new for their history and for their distillery and their production. So, how original is it? If it wasn't for Teeling, I would rate this higher on the originality because it's not so experimental as Teeling. So I would give it a 7 in how original it is and how creative it is. But definitely, I've tried all 3 and this is definitely my favorite one. So that's a 7 on originality. Now, last part, what cocktail is it fit to? What cocktail does it fit to? Let's see one more time. And if you're new to this channel, again, it's 3 choices. It's Manhattan, Old Fashioned, or, of course, Whiskey Sour. I would say it's a tough one because, like I could see it in a Whiskey Sour easily, but I could definitely also see it in an Old Fashioned. If I have to take it right off the bat, like just say, okay, I have to go with one, and I have to go with one. I would say a Whiskey Sour, because an Old Fashioned would require, to really get the most out of it, I would definitely have to work more on the bitters. So if we have to make the easy choice, a Whiskey Sour. I don't think it's appropriate for a Manhattan. Old Fashioned, it could be a great Old Fashioned, but it could also be just totally flat. It really requires that you get the right bitters to really complement the flavors of this whiskey. In the Whiskey Sour, it's pretty easy because it's right there. It's pretty simple. So is it worth your money? Now for me it was, because I got this for half price because they had a killer deal. So I was lucky and I bought the entire series. And what is the price? The price is around, as I recall, around 40 euros, approximately 45, 40 euros. For that, is it worth your money? That's a good question. You could get a lot of good whiskeys for that price. I would say it's a good whiskey. I think it's something you should try. But to buy the entire bottle for that price, I think you can get better for that price. And that has more complexity. So is it worth your money? Not at the full price. It's a good whiskey, don't get me wrong. But you can get so much more interesting stuff at that price range. So for that, I'm saying no, it's not worth your money. So yeah, please see next episode where I'm probably gonna make something even more crazy, like doing a review on Scottish whiskey with a Teeling t-shirt. But please remember to subscribe. My name is Leonardo. It was a pleasure to make a review for you. Cheers.